They called it Aurelius Prime, the jewel of the Triarch Dominion's expansion campaign. Mars, once a dead relic of forgotten human endeavor, had been resurrected under alien hands. Crimson deserts had become plains of gold-tinged grass. Towering crystal spires broke the horizon, harvesting the thin sunlight and converting it into power. The air domes shimmered across the landscape, humming with new life. The Dominion broadcast a moment across the stars, their leader proclaiming, "The red planet breathes again. Mars belongs to the living." But they had no idea what they'd woken up. The humans had been gone for centuries. At least, that's what the Dominion believed. Their records told of a species that burned itself out after overreaching its fragile world, leaving behind wreckage and whispers. The Triarch scientists, ever arrogant, saw Earth's sister planet as a blank canvas, stripped of all that ancient human chaos. It took them 100 years of work and 5 planetary cycles to make Mars habitable again. They seeded it with oxygen, bacteria, and artificial weather systems. They poured rivers into canyons and grew forests under glass. When the first city dome opened, they called it Elythra. 100,000 citizens celebrated beneath the artificial sun. The moment the shields lifted, wind swept across the plaza, cool, dry, and impossibly old. The aliens cheered, breathing deep. But then the wind shifted. It began to whisper. The first to notice was a worker named Kelan. He stood near the edge of the plaza, holding a flag of the Dominion. He froze as dust rose from the red ground, swirling into strange eddies. It didn't move like normal wind. It circled him deliberately, a slow spiral of rust and shadow. Within it, shapes formed, faces blurred and shifting, their mouths opening and closing in silence. Kelan stumbled back, his voice shaking as he shouted for security. By the time others turned to look, the dust had scattered, leaving only his wide eyes and trembling hands. Within the hour, the winds returned. This time, they touched every dome, every street. Cameras caught the phenomenon, clouds of red particles twisting into the vague outlines of humanoid forms. Their mouths moved as if speaking, but the microphones recorded only static. The Dominion scientists dismissed it at first, calling it an atmospheric glitch or magnetic interference. But then, during the second dome's opening, every comm device across Mars activated at once. Not just in the cities, but in the orbiting satellites, in the mining outposts, in the ships beyond the atmosphere. A single voice roared across the frequencies, low and raw, as if drawn from the bones of the planet itself. "We didn't leave it to you." The words echoed for minutes, shaking buildings, freezing hearts. The Dominion soldiers scoured the system for the signal source. They found nothing, no beacon, no ship, no transmitter. Just the wind. Panic rippled across the colonies. The Dominion's High Council convened an emergency meeting. The lead scientist, Vorr insisted it was residual human technology, perhaps a dormant system reactivated by the new atmosphere. Humans were sentimental, he said with disdain. Perhaps they programmed some ancient warning into the soil, a ghost in their machines. But when they tried to scan the Martian crust for technology, the sensors failed. Not jammed, just overwhelmed, as though something inside the planet pulsed with life. The red planet's heartbeat. One technician murmured before his screen exploded in static. The Dominion didn't believe in ghosts. They believed in power, in dominance, in the right to claim what others abandoned. So they built more. They expanded, ignoring the whispers, paving over the sands where the faces had formed. But the more they built, the louder the planet became. At night, the winds howled through the domes, carrying faint words in a tongue none of the aliens recognized, until the translation cores began working on their own. The computer spoke, translating without command. "You breathe what we bled for. You walk where we fell. This was ours." The aliens tried to purge the translation network, but the systems refused. Every terminal, every comm pad, every drone repeated the same phrase in perfect synchrony. "We didn't leave it to you." Then came the lights. The auroras over the poles twisted into symbols, old Earth sigils, military crests. Human names burned into the sky in green fire. Across the terraform valleys, strange structures began to emerge from the sands, metallic skeletons, rusted towers, half-buried machines that had no place in the Dominion's design. They weren't ruins from human times. They hadn't been there before. It was as if Mars itself was recreating what it remembered. One night, a mining crew drilling near Olympus Mons struck something deep underground. It wasn't rock. It was metal, smooth, seamless, and warm. The moment their drill touched it, the planet screamed. Every dome shuddered. Dust storms erupted from the plains, circling the mountains like angry spirits. Lightning carved the sky, and the voice returned, louder than before, unmistakably human, filled with fury. We terraformed it first. The miners vanished. Their cameras caught only one frame before cutting off, a shape of light, humanoid but hollow-eyed, standing in the storm, its body made of dust and flame. The Dominion tried to evacuate, but the ships wouldn't launch. Their systems failed one by one, as though the air itself refused to let them go. The scientists called it atmospheric interference. The soldiers called it curse. The survivors called it justice. Within days, Elythra, their great city, was silent. The wind tore through the empty plazas, whispering in 1,000 voices now. The recordings capture fragments. They built beneath us. They burned our sky. They thought we'd left. Then, in the last surviving transmission from the orbital station, a pilot shouted that the dust storms had shaped themselves into legions, human-shaped silhouettes marching across the plains, their faces blank, their steps shaking the ground. The Dominion fleet opened fire from orbit, raining plasma onto the surface. For hours, the sky over Mars burned. When the storms cleared, the surface was unchanged. The alien bombardment had left no mark. The red planet had absorbed everything, every blast, every strike, as if it had expected the assault. When the last ship turned to flee, the planet spoke again, calm and final. We remember who left us. The fleeing ships never made it past the orbit of Phobos. Their black boxes, recovered decades later by scavengers, recorded one final image before systems failed, a vast shadow rising from the surface, shaped like a man miles tall, looking up at the stars. And then silence. Millennia later, Mars was once again abandoned, its domes shattered, its towers broken. The Dominion's records were wiped clean of the failure, labeled planetary anomaly. But across the galaxy, travelers whispered of it, a world that breathed and whispered, a world that waited. Some said the humans had never truly died, only become one with the soil that took their blood and bones. Others believed Mars itself had remembered them, reshaping its storms into their image, carrying their defiance in every grain of dust. Whatever the truth, no one dared terraform Mars again. And sometimes when the solar winds sweep over the red dunes, the comms of passing ships pick up faint voices, human voices, echoing across eternity. We didn't leave it to you.